It's Thursday, April 4th, 1968, and Dr. King has come to Memphis in support of striking African American sanitation workers who have staged a walkout to protest unequal wages and working conditions. He is 39 years old. Earlier, Dr. King had addressed a gathering at the world headquarters of the Church of God in Christ. His flight to Memphis had been delayed by a bomb threat, and he mentioned the threat in what turned out to be the last speech of his life.
We've got some difficult days ahead, but it doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop and I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will, and He's allowed me to go up to the mountain, and I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know that tonight, that we as a people will get to the promised land. And so, I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Dr. King had received many death threats during his leadership of the civil rights movement. After JFK's assassination in 1963, he told his wife, Coretta, "This is what's going to happen to me also. I keep telling you, this is a sick society." And now, on a cool April evening, he stands on the second-floor balcony of room 306 at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. He and his entourage have stayed in room 306 so often that it has become known as the King Abernathy Suite. And his close friend, Ralph David Abernathy, is once again sharing the accommodation with him on this visit.
He was thinking about it, whether he needed a coat, and a shot rang out. I first thought it was a car backfiring or somebody with firecrackers, and then I looked up and he was not there anymore, and I realized as I ran up the steps that he was laying there in his own blood.
Ralph David Abernathy hears the shot from inside the motel room and runs to the balcony where he finds Dr. King bleeding profusely from the wound in his cheek. Andrew Young arrives shortly afterwards. Dr. King still has a pulse and is rushed to St. Joseph's Hospital, where doctors perform emergency chest surgery. He never regains consciousness and is pronounced dead at 7:05 p.m. Shortly after the shot is fired, witnesses see James Earl Ray fleeing from a rooming house across the street. A package is dumped close to the site that includes a rifle and binoculars with Ray's fingerprints on them. The rifle had been purchased by Ray under an alias 6 days before. A worldwide manhunt culminates with Ray being arrested at London's Heathrow Airport 2 months later. To this day, controversy surrounds his conviction. Many still believe that the assassination was carried out as part of a conspiracy in which James Earl Ray was the scapegoat. At the request of Dr. King's widow, a recording of his famous drum major sermon given on February 4th, 1968, was played at his funeral.
As a part of his drum major sermon, Dr. King talked about what he wanted people to say on the day of his funeral. This is what he said. "I'd like somebody to mention that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to give his life serving others. I'd like for somebody to say that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love somebody. I want you to be able to say that day that I did try to feed the hungry, that I did try in my life to clothe those who were naked, that I did try in my life to visit those who were in prison. And I want you to say that I tried to love and serve humanity. Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice, for peace, and for righteousness. And all of the other shallow things will not matter. I won't have the fine and luxurious things of life to leave behind. I just want to leave a committed life behind."
For human trafficking to be defeated, we must all become drum majors for justice and peace. evil wins when good people do nothing, and when the voices of moderation say, slow down and wait. As Dr. King said, justice delayed is justice denied. From across the ages, Martin Luther King Jr. has urged all of us to respond to our humanity and our conscience and stop closing our eyes to the shameful indignities to which vulnerable men, women, and children are being subjected. If Dr. King was with us today, he would be speaking out vociferously against the evils of human trafficking. But although we don't have him, we do have the words he spoke and wrote in his own fight against the violation of people's civil rights.
When Dr. King spoke these words, he may well have been talking about the modern-day problem of human trafficking. We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is a time for vigorous and positive action.
Dr. King's life was not without controversy, and he had his detractors. But it can be said that any personal criticisms leveled at him pale in comparison to his achievements as a leader of the civil rights movement. In attaining those achievements, he made the ultimate sacrifice.
His legacy was one of service to the nation, to the poor, to the world, that he gave not only his life, but he gave almost every waking hour to. He slept very little. He was constantly thinking about how he could make the world a better place. And for him, it was not an abstract vision. It was a specific tactical effort. What should I be doing today that's going to make things a little better?
According to biographer Taylor Branch, one of the last people Dr. King spoke to before his death was saxophonist Ben F. Branch, who was scheduled to perform that night at an event Dr. King was to attend. He said to the musician, "Ben, make sure you play 'Take My Hand, Precious Lord' in the meeting tonight, and play it real pretty."
Take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I get so tired, I get so weak, I get worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on by the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home. When my way grows dreary, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand, lest I